Hello guys, I'm Stark and I'm here to record yet another civilization guide. This time the civilization that we are going to analyze and go into the depths of it are going to be the Franks, owners of the powerful Frank Paladin, one of the strongest units on the game, one of the most fun civilizations to play with if you like cavalry units, especially knights, and of course they also have another weapons, another details and other stuff that we are going to address on this guide. We're going to start here by showing off the tech tree and how you can exploit it and which situations you might use each one of their technologies. We are later going to go for some builds that are more oriented for 1v1s, that involve feudal age, opening and so on. Then we are going over to builds orders that are more oriented towards team games, so we are going to talk about booming, when to go for a fast castle, when to go for scouts, how many stables you need, and all the details to get you a very solid gameplay for the Franks, which can be used in most maps on the game. And of course, we are also going to talk a lot about the army composition of the Franks during the 1v1 because most people suffer to fight against some other civs. So I'm going to show you some of the army combinations that you might use. So let's get started now by the tech tree of the Franks. About their tech tree. One of the most important things here for the Franks is their early economical bonus, which is foragers that work 25% faster. This means that whenever you play as a Frank, if you are making a basic build order using the berries, your economy is going to be way better than your opponent because of that. So remember to always use this. Your farms are upgraded for free. So this might not look like much, but you are just saving 150 resources by the time you reach Feudal Age because your farms already got the upgrade. And you can already start spamming farms, you don't even have to wait for any kind of upgrades, which is just great. And this also helps a lot once you are in Castle Age because you are also receiving the free Reviplo upgrade, which is saving you extra 250 resource. So those are the eco upgrades. They are all helpful on the food, and food is one of the resources that we have more difficult to get. So this is huge, very huge, guys, and this is where we are going to base our build orders to get some advantage over our opponents. Another small details about their tech tree. Their cavalry has 20% more hit points starting in Feudal. This means that the Frank Scout, guys, is way more powerful than the regular one. A regular Scout would have only 45 hit points, while the Frank one will have around 54. So it's amazing, it's it's incredible. They don't have bloodlines, so if you go for a very long Feudal, this might start to fire back at you, but you are not going to stay too long on the Feudal. We are just going to abuse of this bonus on the early Feudal Age and then go to the Castle Age where our knights will have 120 HP because of this bonus for free. But once we are talking about the Imperial Age, guys, this means that the Cavaliers from the Frank and their Paladins are going to have way more hit points than their regular counterparts of other civilizations. A full upgraded Paladin from the Huns or from the Spanish or the Persian, for example, will have 108 HP because of the bloodlines. Meanwhile, a Frankish Paladin will have 192 hit points. It's near 200 hit points for a cavalry unit. It's a massive unit, man. Then this is incredible. It's very good. Your castles cost less 25%, and this is very useful. It means that you do not need to invest a lot of views of stone in order to get castles. If you just put something like 4 views on the stone early on, you are going to drop castles mid-castle age, and they are great to help you holding the map control, giving you some safety, and you are always going to use your castles because of this unique technology here called chivalry. This is a new technology that was added here, guys, together with HD, later Definitive Edition. We didn't have this back in the old days, but Chivalry increases the production speed of your stables by 40%. It's Chivalry is the secret of having paladins early on. Franks can just have paladins before any other civs with the regular booming if they just make a good use of this technology called chivalry. This also allows you to keep spamming a lot of paladins without having to go for a massive number of stables like 10 or 12. With a small number of stables, you can already have a very great production here. So we are going to use this a lot. We also have Birded Axe as another upgrade here for Imperial Age. This is not often used, but mostly when you were playing with Elite Throwing Axemen, which is their unique unit. A ranged infantry unit, which basically works great against infantry units that are regular melee ones. So you can just counter champions, halberdiers, and other melee units here very well using these infantry. And it works great when you make the combination of both infantry with the elite throwing axemen and cavalry with the paladin. You are just making a melee unit that's going to have to do damage while being protected by a wall of almost 200 HP paladins. So this is just a great unit for you guys to use. I think that we went through most of these. There's also a team bonus that your knights have extra 2 line of sight. Does it make any difference, Stark? It does. Imagine that you have a group of knights raiding and your enemy just gets his views and is running to the other side. With a regular knight, you might not see the villagers running because they cannot see further on. The line of sight is very poor. But with the French extra 2 line of sight, you might just spot those views and you can do a much better job with your raidings because of this upgrade. So, in my opinion, it's a great one. Now let's go over all the tech tree. Ranged units. They have the basic ranged units for Feudal. Once in Castle Age, they can still use the others, but guys, remember that you do not have a thumb ring. So you are not going to make builds fully investing here in crossbows. You are often going to switch into infantry or cavalry. As for the Imperial Age, you can have the Brevic Archer, but no bloodlines. You can use the Hand Cannoneer, which is good, but your Skirmishers are just a mess. The ranged units on Imperial Age are a joke, guys, and the reason is, if we go very fast here to the blacksmith, you are going to see that the French do not have the last armor, the ring archer armor, neither do they have the bracer. So if you have to counter enemy arbalests, going for skirmishers is honestly a very bad idea. This can still be used until Castle Age, but once you are in Imperial Age, you might avoid using this kind of unit. You might counter enemy archers with your paladins, maybe with some siege, but you are not going to go for skirmishers in a trash war, for example. In some desperate situations you might be forced to do it, but you are going to be using one of the worst units possible for the French. So their trash army, not great. But the Hand Cannoneer, guys, it's a very good unit, it's situational, but can be very good. Some situations where you want to use the Hand Cannoneer. The situations where you do not have castles to make throwing axemen because they are way better, and there are a few units that can't be countered by elite throwing axemen because they have a huge melee armor, and I'm talking about the elite Teuton Knight. So if you are fighting against elite Teuton Knights, your axemen won't even harm them enough to be useful. You might be wanting to go for the Hand Cannoneer instead. So those are some of the options. Regarding the infantry, they have the full barracks upgrades here, so they go up to champion and up to halberdier, and they have both attacks and defenses, so you might make a combination of paladins and halberdiers. This is especially good when you're fighting camel civs, so of course we're going to talk about this later, and this unit will be useful. Coming to the stable, they do not have Broussard, but they do have the light cavalry, which can still be used very well for raiding on the Imperial Age. But of course, we are going to focus here on making most of our game. Everything will just go around making knights and later paladins. So this will be the basics of our game. We have all the upgrades for the paladins, they have extra HP, they can decorate faster. We have eco upgrades that support our food production, which will just allow us to do a very smooth transition to those guys. Regarding their siege workshop, they lack even siege run and siege onager, so they do not have the last siege. If you are fighting against a massive amount of infantry or maybe against some elephant civ, you might make use of the Rebel Scorpion. You have this option. If you have to counter enemy siege, give some help in tribe wars, maybe countering Scorpions, Onagers, you can still use the Bombard Cannon because you have them. And the capped runs are still okay to do some pushes on the early Imperial Age, especially if supported right. They are not as good as the siege run, but you can still use that, okay? But remember that you have a lot of options. Whenever you are facing infantry civs, you might make use of the throwing axemen, of course, but in some cases you might even want to have some scorpions as well. The blacksmith we just go through. Infantry and cavalry are a go-to, and you have to stop ranged units on Castle Age because after that they will have no use. Regarding their docks, guys, Franks go great on water until they go for the Imperial Age. On the Imperial Age, they might suffer a bit because they lack shipwright, which would give you a lot of effectiveness doing ships because of how much wood and gold you save. And you also lack the bracer, so your galleons won't have all the range. You might have to focus a bit more on fast fire ship instead of galleons if you are playing here in a water map. Regarding the university, well, you have both masonry and architecture, and those upgrades are great because thanks to those upgrades you can use them to defend your castles, to make their upgrade go higher. You can reach almost 7k HP on your castles, which is very good for defending. You have fortified wall, ballistics, guard towers, so good to defend against mangonels, arrow list, treadmill crane. So we kind of have some defensive tools, but we do not want to invest way too much into towers, especially since we won't have neither keep or the bracer upgrade later on. Their castle unit is the throwing axeman. It's a ranged infantry. We talked about this guy, but in most cases you want to make a combination of throwing axeman and halbs or throwing axeman and paladin. I believe that the throwing axemen are not that great if they do not have a unit working in front of them. So you might be thinking as them as a support unit or the core of your army if you have constant flow of military units in front of them. On the castle, you can make trebuchets, nothing else. Regarding their monastery, guys, they lack redemption and atonement, so you cannot convert siege, you cannot convert buildings, you cannot convert enemy monks. So mostly the monks from the Frank will be used to heal and to get relics. You are not going full on conversion wars here. The few situations where you want to add monks is when you are fighting knight against knight war in Castle Age, or when you're fighting like knights against camels. So having a few monks is always good into the Franks, but I cannot see the Franks making a strategy based on the use of their monks. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. But if you're fighting an enemy that is heavily investing into monks, you can make use of Heresy and maybe Fate on Imperial Age. So those are the upgrades. You just lack two, but are two of the most important ones for the Castle Age game. Regarding the eco, they lack the last wood upgrade, and they also lack, guys, the guilds, which means that we are going to have some trouble by selling resources in Imperial Age, especially in 1v1 scenarios. You also lack the second stone upgrade. You can still be fine with that. But you have the gold one, which can just increase a lot your speed of collecting gold to make the paladins. The thing is, as the Franks, your economy is not going to be bad. Just work on that, but remember that you are very limited on the gold. So whenever you play with the Frank, remember that the clock's ticking and you have to use your units to finish the game. It's very hard to see a Frank winning a 2-hour or 3-hour game. You either win before that, or your enemies are just going to drag you into some kind of trash war oriented army, and you are not going to have the best units to deal with this. So this, guys, is basically a small summary of the French tech tree. Alright, guys, let's talk now about the army compositions that I recommend for the Franks. Usually the most basic one, scouts. you can just go Feudal and work with a few scouts. This one can be used on team games, this one can be used in 1v1s. I recommend using like only scouts when you have maps that are easy to wall or when you are very far away from your enemies, so you might not get rushed way too early with archers or anything else. You won't need to make spearmen if you can wall, so it's safe to play with just scouts. Second case, you are playing in the Feudal Age there, you just reached Feudal Age and you have this scout here, this guy with 54 HP. You can start making spearmen and scouts and trying to harass the enemy. Try to use the spearmen here to pick up fights against his scouts or spearmen, while you try to use your scouts here to pick views. At some point your opponent might be forced to use a lot of food to defend, because his only answer if he's going for scout as well is to make more spearmen, and if he does so, you are going to still be fine because your early Feudal Age is very strong, your farms do not require investment, so the resources that you save by having Free Horse Scholar can be invested into some more of those guys here. So this is another combination that I like to use, especially in 1v1. After that, Castle Age. Another situation. You started here with scouts like this, but you were fighting guys against a Briton or as Ethiopian, some player that just walled himself at some point, defended your initial raidings, and he's now coming to attack you with scouts. What's my suggestion when you play against those archer civilizations? Go for skirmishers. In my opinion, my personal experience, one archer range with skirmishers is more than enough to hold the enemy, especially if he's making only archers. Consider also that you might be going to do the fletching, maybe the padded archer armor, so this is just gonna be fine. In the Castle Age, you can just follow this combination by going for elite skirmisher and knights. Another situation, less used, but there are some situations where I like to use, it's the knight and archers stuff. Sorry, scouts and archers. You start with scouts, make a transition here into archers to play with early crossbows. I like to use this combination when I want to be super aggressive over my opponent, when I want to have like massed archers. I think that this might be especially good when you are, for example, facing an enemy that might rely on a unique unit like the Iron Bite, so you can have crossbows for later, or when you are fighting unit civilizations that have camels, because once in castle you can still make knights and use your crossbows to counter the enemy camels. So this is the situations where you want to make archers. I do not use this too much, but it happens. And right here guys, we finished the army composition for Feudal Age. We are soon going to talk about Castle Age. Alright guys, let's talk now about Castle Age army composition. I think that things are much easier now because there's no secret. What's the main army composition for a Frank player on Castle Age? Knights. They are strong, they're fast, a lot of HP, a lot of armor, good against archers, good against infantry, you can raid. You might have to run from camels sometimes, but it's just fine. But if you have truly to face a good player that is making like more knights or that's making camels or any other unit, my suggestion for you is to use the second combination here, knights and a few monks. So let's say that you were just trading knights against an enemy, but you have like 4 monks behind. Not only you can minimize the damage by converting like 4 enemy camels, 4 enemy knights, but those monks, if they are behind your army, will also keep healing your knights during the fights. So this is a combination that I like to use, especially if I'm playing, for example, a Mirror Frank War. This is one of the combinations that I would use. I personally recommend using at least 1 or 2 monks as Frank to get the relics, to heal your knights when you were raiding and losing HP. You come back, you heal and go back to the battle. They can be very useful. Another approach here, you are facing, for example, a player that's full investing into either knights or camels. Let's say you're fighting against an Indian. It's not so peaceful to play against camels. They are cheaper, they are good, they are counter the knights. You might want to add here pikemen. So that's the combination that I like to use when I want to pressure an enemy who's playing with Indians, Persians, Malians, any civilization or any other civilization that has and is focusing on camels. For example, let's say that I'm trying to pressure a Mongol player and he's just wasting his gold here on camels. I can use the pikeman combination to force the fight, to happen on Castle Age before he can go up to Elite Mango Dice, so that's another combination that I'm very fond of. The one that I was talking before, guys, on Feudal Age, if you just went for Scout and Archers, you can play on Castle Age with the combination of Knights and Crossbowmen, two of the most strong units here. The issue is there are some civilizations that will use this combination in a better way, such as the Medians, the Persians, the Portuguese. The reason is they have either all the upgrades for the crossbows, or they have some gold upgrade or some gold discount like the Portuguese to use. They're still good, and I like to use this against camel civilizations as well. So crossbows and knights to play against camel civilizations, some other civilizations, infantry ones as well. This just gives you a huge boost on your early Castle Age that can just be followed by mass knights later on. Another composition here, this one I like to use whenever I'm fighting against civilizations that are archer ones, such as Britons, Ethiopians. I like to go for skirmishers already on Feudal, and then on Castle Age I start fighting here using elite skirmishers, dodging mangonel shots and killing everything, and then I can just use my knights here to finish the job, get a mangonel if needed, and that can just solve the problem. So that's a combination to play with knights, but also knowing that you might have to fight against more mobile units. This can also work against other kind of civs. You can also pressure your opponent if he's playing with melee units, trying to do some pikemen and so on, but I would mostly use this combination against ranged unit civilizations, or civilizations that are betting on crossbows. Vikings, Britons, Ethiopians, Saracens, and so on. Now let's go for another approach. You went for knights and your opponent fully walled himself. What can you do? You just stop the pressure, you go to Imperial Age, or no, you can just try to pressure him here using mangonels. Or if you're fighting against someone who's just trying to defend using pikemen, going for siege is great. If he has pikemen in a huge number, you can just aim on the pikemen when they come to attack your knights, patrol the knights in front of the mangonels, and shoot the group of pikemen that is trying to get your knights killed. Even better if you add a few scorpions. Whenever I'm playing full knight and my enemy tries to go like full pikeman, I do not want to go and wait until I have a castle to make throwing axemen or start making crossbows from nothing. I just like to use this combination. I find it to be way more effective. So knights and siege, good for push, good for arena, good to fight against archer civilizations. On arena, for example, you might just open with something like 3 or 4 knights in this combination to fight for the middle. It's also effective, so that's another option that I like to use. And let's talk now about Imperial Age army composition. Basically evolutions from before, but now we also have the unique units. So Paladin must be the core of your army whenever you're playing Frank. Are you having like no problem to play with only Paladin? You can just go this on a team game. That's mostly what your team expects, to go for full Paladin. Oh no, Stark, I'm actually fighting in a 1v1, or I'm also having to fight against an Indian or a Ravi Camel civilization. Use a combination of Paladin and Halberdier. A full composition for when you have extra gold here can be very useful is the Paladin and Elite Throwing Axemen together. I like that one as well. The idea of this composition is you start the fight here with the Paladin, oh, not you, and the Throwing Axemen will just support killing enemy halberdiers and so on. So the very classic composition for the Frank. But let's say that you are playing, your opponent's trying to go for infantry, but you are playing a mega random map that has like no stone on the map. How do you counter mass halberdiers in this case? Or how do you stop that? My advice is use hand cannoneers. You are just not allowed to use your throwing axemen, or you are having to fight against elite Teuton Knights, for example. You might want this unit instead. They have 17 attack. You can also use some cannons whenever you're doing this because you already made the chemistry, and you can try to use this composition. I have seen this working. I like it. I'd rather use the throwing axemen, but in some situations, if you have to, those guys also counter halberdiers and other infantry units very well. Let's say that you do not want to play with paladins. You can still try some combination full of infantry, for example, halberdiers and throwing axemen. This one's very good, especially if you manage to keep all your throwing axemen behind, your halberdiers on the front absorbing the damage, and you just try to keep your throwing axemen out of the range of enemy siege. That's how it could work. So those guys are my favorite army compositions, but if you have to pick just one, play with only paladins. There we go. This one, full paladins, no need for halbs, no need for anything else. They are the most effective unit, pop effective unit if you have the Franks. So full paladin is my advice to you whenever you're playing as Franks. There we are, guys, and we are about to start one of the parts that you guys are most fond of. Let's record build orders here. The first one that we are going to record is the Frank population 19 or 20 scouts. So guys, what is the idea of this build order and how it works? It's quite simple. Basically, we were just going to do some very similar approach that we do on the build order for basic scouts that you can find in the basic build order playlist. But since we have the Franks, guys, we will be taking on the berries, and thanks to the bonus of the faster foragers, we are going to be able to click up to Feudal way early than we would usually go to Feudal. We are going to use this early advantage and the strong scouts to pressure the enemy. We are also going to use this advantage of the farms to boost our eco, and after doing that we can just set up our eco to go to the castle age to play with these famous knights. There we go. We start here with 6 on the ship, guys. Exploring here the map. Then we are going to get wood. How much views are we going to put on the wood? We are going to use only 3. We have no plans, guys, of making farms on Feudal Age unless we get resources stolen or so on. And since we are going very early on to Feudal, it's worth not to make any farm as Frank on Dark Age, to wait for the Feudal to make them already upgraded in order to have more food from those farms. Right now we have 3 views on the wood and we are going to the boar. I'm not even going to focus much on the scout, guys. I will just leave here on auto scout. We are going for the first boar. We are eating the 4th ship here. Bringing the boar back. And I'm going to add one more view here. I want to have, guys, on the TC 8 views here. Right now I have 8. And because this is one of the most optimal numbers to keep eating boars here. All the next 4 views are going to the mill, with the exception of the very next one, this one here. This guy can just make a house for us. There are some situations where you just want to make a house and go for the mill. If you want a simple rule not to lose the other boar, I would advise you for using this villager here just to build houses and then go for the boar. Like build this house, build that one, and then go for the boar, and you put the other 4 here on the berries. Manually dropping the food, we can see that we can already quill up a lot of villagers. We will have enough houses even for the beginning of the Feudal Age. Going after the other boar. And we need to make like 2 more views here to the berries. Killing this other boar. We are soon going to have 4 views here, guys, on the berries. There we go. We have 4 views now on the berries, 9 here on the food. Let's put 1 more until we have 14. And then we are going to reach population 19. And if I'm not mistaken, guys, I think that we might be able to go up with population 19 or 20. Let's not be greedy, I'm just going to make population 20 up. We are still going to be faster than our opponents in most of the times. We are just going to match, guys, the same uptime that Mongol players usually do. The regular build for Mongol is population 20, Sometimes they go a bit early, but we are just going to do the very same without having a crazy hunting bonus. I'm adding 2 more views now to the wood. I'm gonna make the loom. And right now I'm making the loom. I have 5 views here eating the wood. I finished the boar. I have barely the food to go to Feudal Age, and I can already select 5 views there to go to the other wood. Go into the Feudal Age. 10 villagers now on the wood, 5 on this lumber camp, 5 others on this one. We're going to forgive this enemy for his ignorance. Eating out the sheep, guys. If you can lure deers, this can boost up your eco a bit, but you do not need to lure to still make a very solid build. Solid builds do not require you to lure. Then let's make now a barracks. And we are going to drop a stable, keep those 10 guys here on the wood, and we are going to add villagers to the food, guys, once we are on Feudal Age, until we have something around a minimum of 14 views on the food. So that will be our objective. Once we join Feudal Age, we are going to make scouts, make farms. Remember about the army composition video. Sometimes you might also want to open up with some spearmen. Some other times you might just be fine going full scouts. On this map, for example, I could go for full scouts because the map is very, very easy to wall. And I'm going to show you how I would play this map, for example. We are about to reach Feudal. Already select your villagers and place them in order to make them stable. Building a stable, upgrading the wood, and if we want, we can already start making farms because we already have the free horse collar. After that, I can send back those views to the wood, and I will keep one of the views here to be my official builder. Making scouts, going ready for the farms. Whenever I have, guys, spare 60 wood, I drop a farm. That's basically how this works. Those 4 views are still collecting rapidly. We have a lot of scouts on the quill. We are making way more views here to the farms. And of course, we can use this villager here as well to make walls for us. Huh? If you just keep one view here during the Feudal Age making the walls, you are going to be walled before something like 12 or 14 minutes. If you want to defend from archers, you can just use more views to wall quicker. But this is just a small rule for you guys to know that you can be walled if you need. Let's also make a house. I'll keep making scouts here, guys. With those 3 scouts, I can be already harassing views. I'm going to make an intermediate number of scouts here, around 7 on total, because I think that this is the amount of scouts that you want to go in a team game. Enough to pick views, enough to pick a fight against a small archer army, but you do not want to overextend yourself into making scouts, because you are not going to have bloodlines if you need to upgrade them later on, and your opponents might be able to catch you technologically because of this. Right now we have 14 views, 15 views on the food already, guys. I'm going to put one more, let's say something like 16 views. About to have 7 scouts. Our builder is working, Ravi here. We have 16 scouts, guys. We can start collecting gold. Our berries are on the brick of the end here. So what we can do is start switching the views slowly here to be farmers. We have a good number of scouts here. Those scouts have extra HP. We can be causing a lot of damage with those guys. In some cases, guys, I do not do all those scouts. Sometimes I just want to make a small raiding and go to castle, so I just do not do all these 7 scouts. Sometimes my opponent is fully walled and I cannot find any place to fight him, so I just stop making scouts early on. But that will be very situational. I cannot just make a build making a rule for every situation. I'm putting here 4 guys on the gold, and I'm about to make the wheelbarrow upgrade. Already going to drop a blacksmith. Making here some palisades, blacksmith, and back to the wood. The villagers here from the forge have finished their job, so they are now farmers. We have around 16 farmers, that's a lot. We are finishing the walls here. Remember guys, if you want to be fully walled before, just use a few more views and you can even be fully walled here by the time you reach Feudal Age. It was not my focus here on the game. Right now I'm about to finish the upgrade of the wheelbarrow. My farms will start to give me a lot of food. I will have the blacksmith and I can just add a few more views here to the gold in order to set up my economy to go for more scouts. Or, sorry, in order to go for knights on the castle age. That will be the idea. This build order, for example, guys, can be used in 1v1, but mostly in 1v1 scenarios, I will often go for also skirmishers, maybe spearmen, maybe archers, because I won't have an ally doing this. But in team games, this build order can work pretty well. I'm gonna make one more view. We have 6 views now in the gold, maybe 7 will be a good number to keep us making knights later on. Whenever you're playing a team game, you might also want to add a market. It will give you a lot of precious information about the whereabouts of your allies. If you want, you can already invest here into new lumber camps. We are going to invest anyway into new stables because we are going to use a minimum of 2 stables whenever we are playing this. So this is the most generic build order, guys. You can use this in 1v1, you can use it on team game whenever you are playing as a pocket position, or if you have enough communication, you can even do this as a flank, but that's basically it. Whenever you are going to castle, there are a few things that you want to do. For example, upgrading the gold and upgrading at least the first armor of your units. We invested here into new lumber camps. We have a lot of farmers here, so this will pretty much allow us to keep making views and also, guys, to keep making knights. And that's basically it. In a game situation, you might even want to sometimes not make the market in order to drop the TCs immediately. I think that we are going to be able to have to be dropping the TCs before 20 minutes here, the 2 of them. Remember that we will have to remake those farms, but only around minute 22 or so on. It's around 19 minutes, guys, 19 minutes and a half, not either 20 minutes. And after making a lot of scouts, we have a full eco and we are about to start making knights. So this is why the Franks are very used in the team game. It's a very solid build. Going for knights, upgrading the wood, making now another TC already. We can even make the third TC as well. So I'm making knights, I'm making more TCs. If you want, guys, or if you need to fight against archers, my advice for you, if you're fighting at least against crossbows, it's good to upgrade the chain barding armor or the +2 armor for the knights. This will allow them to absorb most of the damage that you would receive from enemy archers. And now it's all about the balance. If you want to go for a more knight-oriented game, you might even delay one of those TCs to play with like one more stable or add more views. But if you are going to play a more balanced game or a more eco-oriented, what you want to do right now is to keep getting food, wood, gold, expand the number of farms you have. We need at least 18 farms here only to keep the TCs working. So we are going to use our excedent of views here to make farms. We have an army, a mixed army here of knights and scouts. Even if you lost the scouts, you have the capability here of making scouts. If you have the market, sometimes if you have a small imbalance in your economy, you can solve it by buying some resource, which I do not recommend. To be done as always, it's a bad habit. But that's basically it, guys. And from here on, you are just going to keep making knights and views. I'm in a more eco-oriented approach here, because I'm spamming more views than spamming knights. But if I want, I can just trade some resources, still making knights, until I have enough farms. You want to go for some heavy number of farms, guys, whenever you are playing with the Franks, because you want to support town centers producing, you want to support stables producing. We are already gonna need some views here building more houses for us. And that's basically how you want to play this game. Farms, farms, farms. Knights and more knights. If you are playing a team game where your team might be needing to have more knights on the front line because you are facing enemies making way too much army, after you did this small boom here and you have something around 30 farmers like I have, you might want to add more stables to be able to spend the knights faster. So that's a good situation, or that's a good point in the game in order to do it. Whenever we have the wood. So we have around 30 farms now, guys. We are using like 18 of those farms just to keep our TCs working. We are trying to spend knights here. Another advice that I give you is once you finish building your stables, and I personally like to work with the minimum of 4 stables if I'm massing army on Castle Age. What you want to do afterwards is to get some views and put those views on the stone. I'm not talking about a lot of views. You don't need to place like half of your views on the stone, just a small number. And the reason that I'm asking you to do this is because we are going to drop the castle as soon as we can to make the upgrades for the knights. There's an upgrade on the castle called Chivalry that will allow us to produce knights a lot faster, and it's worth to collect that to make this upgrade when you are going to the Imperial Age. Also, by having a castle, you also have the ability of clicking up to Imperial Age. Upgrade the second gold mining whenever you can. We are going to be very heavy here regarding gold and food. We want to achieve the minimum of 45 to 50 farms here, so we have a long way to go regarding the farms. And we also want, guys, to have a good amount of gold miners here. There we go. One of the secrets to make this work is not let your town center go idle. And the other secret is do not bank up wood. If you take a look right now on the amount of wood that I have on the bank, guys, you see that I barely have enough to keep making houses because I'm using like all the wood I have to make new farms. That's one of the secrets of keeping the eco tight here and making it work. Making knights don't stop. This is mostly what you want to do if you're eco whenever you're playing a team game, in some 1v1 situations as well. I forgot to upgrade the stone here, but it's also important. Build new lumber camps whenever you need those. It's a small investment. We have right now 45 farms. We are spamming knights non-stop. You might even want to add more views here to the gold. My objective here, guys, is getting close to 30 views on the gold. So I'm gonna make a few more views on the gold. I'm still dropping knights. If you want to go Imperial Age, you just need to drop here a university and a monastery and maybe idle your stables for a bit on this point of the game. But if you do not want to idle, just keep making the knights, because in the way we are developing the eco, we are soon going to be able to afford the buildings here to go up. Right now we have around 30 views on the gold. All the others are being sent here to the wood. We have the gold upgrade. I forgot, but we are now making the handcart. After you have 80 views, it's okay to make the handcart. A huge number of views. A lot of houses here. Finishing the upgrade. As I said, we want around 50 views on the food. We have 45, which is almost enough, so we just need a few more views here on the farms. And we can already, guys, make a castle here as soon as we can. That's why I oriented you to make to start collecting stone early on. You need on the beginning at least one castle because you are gonna need this castle to make the upgrade, both conscription and the upgrade later for your knights. So if you do not want to keep those views on the stone after you make the castle, it's fine. I like to keep at least 2 views on the stone because this allows me to make a town center if I need, some small stone walls if I need, and that's basically how this works. We have now 50 views on the food, spamming a lot of knights. We're still with only 4 stables here. Ah, come on. And this is the upgrade that we need to do, guys. As soon as we have the wood, we can afford chivalry. Chivalry will allow us to upgrade our knights very fast to paladins once we are on the Imperial age. We might be using a lot of resources to upgrade the paladins, so let's go here, even to up to 55 farms. I always like to work with the minimum amount of views of 120, so I'm gonna stop at 120 here. We're about to reach the Imperial age. If you want to accelerate your upgrades, you can even make a second blacksmith to be upgrading both attack and defense at the same time. And we just have a huge amount of knights, guys. We kept making knights a lot on the castle age. It's around 34 minutes, it's not very early on, but considering that we played on Feudal age and that we stayed all the castle making knights is a very good time. Select one stable and as soon as you can upgrade here, Cavalier, upgrade on the castle, conscription. On the blacksmith you can upgrade the defense and the attack. You can even make a few more stables, but honestly as Franks, guys, I never use more than 5 to 6 stables whenever I have the upgrades. Any Castle Age army is now just a joke for us. Not much to worry about. We're about to finish the Cavalier here. We can still keep making knights on the other stables, upgrading the attack. You can see that we already have the resources, guys, on the bank for the Paladin up. Paladin being upgraded, it's around 35 minutes. Remember, guys, that we just reached Castle and we are already here. Just reached Imperial age and we are already upgrading Paladin. Because of Chivalry, you can upgrade the Paladin attack much faster than any other civilization. And if you just reach the Imperial age together with a Hunt player, this means that if you just make the upgrade Cavalier and Paladin straight on, you are going to have it faster than any other civ. Thanks to that upgrade, this is the secret of the Frank Strange. So you need this castle, you need the upgrade in order to be able to mass knights and later paladins as soon as possible. Let's say that you are fighting in a team game. What you want to do on this point of the game? If you have the map control, let's say that I have the map control here. You want to move some views to the extra goals, like this, in a 1v1 as well. But if you are playing exclusively a team game, there we go, full paladins. Amazing, right? That's how you want to play in either 1v1 and sometimes that's how we want to play in team games and sometimes in 1v1. Only paladins. So, but if you're playing a team game, what you might have to do here by now is to add a lot of markets on the corner, minimum of 4 markets, upgrade here this caravan upgrade. And once you have that done, what you want to do is to hurry up and make a lot of trade cards. If you have extra golds, you can just use 4 or 5 markets making those cards while still making paladins. But if you do not have extra golds or if you are struggling, my advice is, if you have spare food and spare wood and the market prices are still okay, you can try selling those. This is especially good in 1v1. See, now I just have a good bank of gold. And of course, we want now to make trade cards. And that would be the idea. We will just keep making here trade cards, guys, until we can support our paladin production forever. With those paladins, you can pretty much take any fight you want, but the secret of this strategy to work is that you need to keep making trade cards to replace your gold villagers, because it's a very gold intensive strategy. New lumber camps might be helpful. Even if we lose all of your paladins, we can still remake those paladins very fast, thanks to chivalry and conscription. So if we just take a look here, oh, gold's about to get over. Huh? If we just take a look here on the stables, look at the speed which you can produce paladins. Almost like a goth barracks, man. It's amazing. Even if we lost like all the army, we can still replace them quicker. I'm using here only 6 stables because the idea is never losing a full army of paladins like this. Just keep losing a few and replacing them, and those 6 stables are more than enough with all the upgrades. But later on Imperial Age, if you want to increase the speed which you are making the paladins, you can even add more stables, but in my opinion, as Franks, that's just enough. And there we go. We can just keep making paladins. You can see, guys, that right now, if this trade is not starting to go back already with gold, I will start to have some trouble, because this gold mine is about to get over. The main gold is over. The other one is over. I'm only consuming this extra gold. So unless you have map control and you are getting extra gold, you need these trade cards here to start bringing gold back to you as soon as possible. How many trade cards do I have to do here, Stark, as Frank or as a Paladin Civ? Aim at something like 30 to 40 trade cards at the minimum, okay? I sometimes like to go heavy into the trade cards, something like 50 trade cards at least. This can allow me even to sling gold to my allies if they need. I do not think that it's a bad habit to overextend so much into trade cards, especially because nowadays there's always that ally that will keep asking for the gold. And if you are that guy, that's because you are not investing properly into these trade cards. So that's the idea, guys. We're just gonna keep making paladins here forever, keep making trade cards to produce gold. With this amount of use, we can even trade sometimes the excedents here of food and other resources for gold. Let's just say that we are fully starved here on gold. We are fully starved. You can just get here and trade like a lot of food here to make like a few more paladins. This is not optimal, but this is sometimes what you have to do whenever you're playing 1v1s. Your food sources are limited, your gold sources are limited, you only have the extras and you only have for example the relics. But in a team game, man, that should never be a problem, because you have those trade cards working here, bringing gold for you from the other corner of the map. And once again, as I said, if you feel like you were using way too much gold, you made way too much knights and you were having to make new paladins, you were just trading those guys here with your enemy, what you might want to do is to add more than 4 markets when you start your trade, okay? There you go. So scouts, knights, paladins, that guys is the basics of the Frank. If you dominate this build order, you can pretty much play team games doing whatever you like, making small variations, and you are still going to be fine. GG. Alright guys, let's go for another build here. This one is especially good whenever I'm fighting against ranged unit civilizations such as Britons, Ethiopians, Vikings, or it means that against anyone that will try to kill me using archers, later crossbowmen, and so on. So how does this work? Huh? It's quite simple. We start in the same way as before, by putting here 6 views on the ship. The opening is exactly the same, but if you already watched the first one, watching this will just get it fresher in your head, so you are not going to lose anything by doing that. And there we go. Fighting out the ship, exploring, scouting here with the ship. Your priority on the beginning of the game is always, guys, scouting for the food. You need to find the ship, you need to find the board, you need to find your food sources. right here against those archer civilizations, we are never going to play thinking already about the defense. We are going to harass those guys, and we are going to do this by opening here with scouts. I like the opening with scouts because the scouts in small numbers are great on the beginning to pick up views. They can counter Drusha or men-at-arms that are trying to kill you in the beginning, and they can also force your opponent to be walling or to make spearmen on his base, denying on his early attacks with spearmen and archers in the beginning. So they are not only good for attacking but also for defending, because they are forcing your opponent to think about how to deal with them instead of just coming straight away for your economy. So basically, what's the idea here? We already have eaten 3 sheep. We are about to start eating now the 4th sheep. There he goes. Eating now the 4th sheep. Taking on the first boar. There's still 1 boar for us to find. I'm putting 1 more view here on the sheep. I want to have 8 views eating the boar. And I'm going to send another villager here to make houses and later go for the berries. Another good tip here is trying to kill the boar in a more central position of your town center. Not that great, but still fine. I haven't found the other boar. I'm doing a very poor job here with the scouting. Manually dropping food. We are soon going to have 4 views here eating the berries. I can already send a view here to get the boar. It's probably around here. Or, there you go. This map is very good for defending. Whenever you are playing against the archer civilizations, guys, you might be expecting that this player will try to attack you during Feudal Age. This guy will try to attack you with archers, and there are a few things that you can do to defend yourself properly. The first one is making palisades that deny his mobility. You have more time to build up these palisades than you would have when defending from a scout civilization, because the archers have less speed, they take more time to be created, so you have some time to be able to build up some defenses, and we are going to react making skirmishers. We are already eating the second boar, building up those views now for the sheep. It's the very same opening that we did before, guys, the very same opening. We changed absolutely nothing here. We're just going to open with scouts. Right now I am about to have 5 views on this wood. Making the loom, getting ready to click up here to Feudal Age. I can already select 5 views there and send to the other wood. There we go. Going to the other wood. Get 1 view here to make the barracks for us. I'm thinking about building the barracks here, in the front of the berries. Gonna also make a house. We need this house, guys, or else we are going to get housed once we are in Feudal Age. In the previous build I did 2 houses later before getting the boar. This time I didn't. 10 guys on the wood. The others are here on the food. We have constantly 4 views here eating the berries. We are eating now the sheep. And there you go. As soon, guys, as we reach the next stage, we are going to drop a stable. But meanwhile, I'm just setting this villager here to make for us houses, make for us palisades and walls. The idea of making those walls is denying the access to the enemy directly to your eco. It's not a lot expensive, guys. It's not that expensive. You can afford doing this. I see a lot of players dying because they're not affording to make those palisades. But man, you can afford that. Even with a 20 villager population. Dropping now the stable. All the new villagers are going out to the food. We are finishing the walls, so that's the first basics here to defend from the archers. If you are having to fight against the rush, my recommendation for you is to use a few walls on your resources. We are going to make at least 3 more scouts to have a minimum of 4 scouts here. We are making new farms here around the TC.
Bûcheron, prêt, bûcheron.
We still have those views eating there. If you want to do a few more scouts, you can do it. But right now, guys, I'm going to do something different. I already have now 10 villagers collecting food for me, 4 on the berries and 6 on the farms. I'm going to put a few more views on each one of those woods until I have around 14 views on the wood. I like to do this 14 view stuff because I can invest into a lot of things. I'm going to open here with my archer range. Remember that I have all those views here collecting food. And now I'm going back to, I have 14 views on the wood, and now I'm getting back to collect food and I'll keep making farms. Why did I invest more into the wood, guys? Because I want extra views in the wood in order to make the archer range, in order to make the skirmishers, because I might have to make also the blacksmith right after making the archer range, in order to make some more upgrades. And the idea of walling, guys, is at least knowing where the enemy will come from. Right now, I'm just expecting my enemy to come from this way, so I can wait for him in a strategical position here, which is the idea. I'll keep making farms, eating the stagglers, making small transitions here from berry to food farm, keep making houses. If you have to fight against a lot of archers, the minimum that you need is the fletching, and later you also need the padded archer armor. And I also want to talk about the big mistake that I see players that do this strategy committing. The biggest mistake is you just see your opponent coming with 6 archers here or 10 archers and you try to fight. Don't. Just go back. Wait until you have enough numbers of skirmishers to fight, because you cannot afford to lose fights. We are only using 1 archer range here. Our opponent might be using 2 ranges to make army, so he might probably be going to make army faster than we are. So whenever you are doing this strategy, you want to keep your archers here. You want to keep your skirmishers alive until the first fight. You do not want to take bad fights. We're just making a lot of farms now. I will go around something like 18 farms here. I have 16, so 2 more. It's not a lot. It's around 16 minutes and we already have it. And now, guys, if you want, you can just keep making scouts and skirmishers non-stop. The skirmishers are upgraded. I will just repeat the procedure here to go to the next stage. Start collecting gold. I'm gonna put some views there. I can keep making skirmishers as long as I think it's needed. If you haven't finished your wall, even by only making houses, you can by now complete. Remember also, guys, that we have a lot of views taking wood, so if we need to make an investment into another lumber camp, let's say that our opponent has just a very easy access to that area with his army, we can play like this, and that will be the idea. We just keep making skirmishers. I'm about to make now the wheelbarrow as soon as I can afford it. This villager is constantly making houses for us. I have 4 views there on the gold. I'm about to make a wheelbarrow. I'm making more skirmishers. Often, guys, whenever I have enough skirmishers here to pick up fights against my opponent, I like to stop making the skirmishers just to see my food production increasing a lot. But if you want to keep making skirmishers, since we invested heavily into farms, we can use some, for example, the 14 farms here just to bank up resources, and 3 or 4 others just to generate enough food to keep making the skirmishers non-stop. So we are going to be fine. Basically, that's the message. As soon as we finish the wheelbarrow, I'm gonna queue up like 2 more views, and we are going to click up the castle later on. So I'm heavily investing here into Feudal army. I made like all the upgrades for the skirmisher, but I will still be able to click way before 20 minutes and reach castle within a still reasonable time. Sometimes, guys, when I'm walled, I feel like I can just protect myself with less skirmishers than that. You are going to get these whenever you have more experience, so you don't need to keep massing skirmishers forever. We are about to go castle. And then you have to decide if you want to keep making skirmishers, if you want to make a transition. Honestly, whenever I play, if I just keep my skirmishers alive, I believe that 1 archer range in most of the times is enough. So right now, what I'm gonna do is to drop another stable to make a transition into knights. Remember that I still have 14 views collecting wood, so I already have a huge bank of wood. Upgrading the knights. If you want to keep making knights and skirmishers, my advice for you is to invest into more farms. Let's say something like 22 farms, so we're going to make some new farms here to be able to afford both units. And with this amount of farms, this amount of views on the gold, we can just play full castle age with skirmishers and knights. We have around 20 skirmishers here. Once we are on the castle age, we can decide to start booming, or we can already drop the university to make ballistics. I personally like a lot to make the ballistics, guys. I think that it's a great upgrade for the skirmisher. I'm going to send all the other new villagers here to the wood, because I might have to remake all those farms later on. But before that, we are going to make the ballistics. An advice to make the ballistics, if you can. Select a lot of villagers as soon as you reach castle age, something like 6. Drop an university because it takes time to be built. Upgrade the skirmisher, upgrade the bodkin arrow. Stop making the farms automatically, because we are going to need some wood to make the ballistics. We are already making knights, making all the ballistics as soon as we have the resources for it. Uh-oh, there we go. And now I'll keep making views here to either the gold or to the wood. I'm choosing, for example, here to play with 1TC, very aggressive with a lot of skirmishers. I can by now already think about remaking my farms. Making knights, making skirmishers. In the beginning, if you invest into ballistics, you want the skirmishers to be the core of your army, and you just want knights to support with raidings or getting siege or anything like this. So basically, you are going to fight against the Briton, you are going to have a lot of skirmishers already having ballistics, so you are not going to miss any shot. You are just going to melt archers here without any trouble. We have way too much food already, guys, because I thought that we would be spamming way more units. I forgot to click up the wood, do not do this. But that's basically, guys, a small idea of a build or an idea on how to play against archer civs that are very common nowadays. By the way, we are focusing here on fighting a civilization, assuming that this guy is going to play full here with archers. But if he actually tries to switch into other units, we might just have to reset our economy here in order to go for knights. Remember, guys, that the skirmishers are on their peak strength right now. They are not going to get stronger than that because, as I said, the Franks have very crap skirmishers for the Imperial age. They are not so great. We can even choose now to make more, to make the upgrades for the knights, to get more views on the gold. and make a small switch here from skirmishers to knights. Well, that's basically it. If you want to play full aggressive, you can even add siege to this composition, upgrade +2 here for the knights to start diving on the enemy's town center, which is one of the things that I truly like to do whenever I have knights, to be very aggressive using them. Start booming at your base, get control of your goals if you need it, make more farms. Start collecting stone if you want to make a castle in another position. That's basically it, guys. But the idea I think that you guys got is to add a few more views on the wood once you are on Feudal. I like to add a minimum of 12 views to the wood. The regular is 10. I go between 12 and 14 views in order to have enough food to do all the investments that I need. And now I can just, for example, add like 2 more stables and play full knights if I want to. So that's the idea. If you want to play full knights, 2 more stables. Remember that we already have a lot of skirmishers. If you are fighting against those archer civilizations, guys, you want to add more stables or to add siege, because those civilizations are going to get strong arbalests once they are on Imperial Age. And as I said, your skirmishers are on their peak strength right now. They are not going to get stronger than that. You can even upgrade the chemistry, but you will already have access to all the armors on the Castle Age. We probably won't be able to keep keeping up with an arbalest enemy in the Imperial Age. So sometimes whenever you play the Frank, maybe forcing the Castle Age army here, if you can, is good together with the skirmishers. This strategy also works well when you are playing with elephant civilizations. I like to do the same skirmisher opening here when I'm playing as Skirmisher, when I'm playing as Malay, because I can just follow up later with a lot of elephants. And there we go, a transition here to the gold, and we can now play with full knights. Of course, what will be the objective here right now? Keep investing into the wood, keep investing into the gold, keep one villager at least constantly making houses, and never let a wood bank to be formed. Waste all your, or actually use all of your wood here to make more knights. That's the idea. I hope you get it. From now there's no much secret. Remember, as we played before, if you are also getting very aggressive, it might be a good idea to take some views out to go to the stone, because we might want to drop a castle to make the chivalry, or to get a very strategic position over our enemies. Once you have made the transition to knights, you can even choose to kill the enemy's town centers. The skirmishers can survive diving in the town centers. The knights are also very resistant. Do not be afraid of tanking on enemy town centers if you have the army advantage. You might need to add some siege probably. If you have to do so, it's not the end of the world, just add the siege. And that's it. We are going to keep making knights, keep harassing the enemy, using skirmishers, using knights, all those units here. Anyone going for arbalest will have some trouble to deal with. So the idea is to be very aggressive. You do not want to just let the guy that has the arbalest to play through the next stage. But if this guy manages to defend himself, we are going to make a castle, make chivalry, prepare ourselves to go for paladins, much like the other game, and that's how we're gonna do it. So in this kind of strategy, guys, we give the core of the army to the skirmishers. The skirmishers are going to lead the game for us, and then once we have opened the game, the opponent is probably trying to defend himself with mangonels, maybe trying to wall more behind. We are just going to switch full into knights and spam his eco with our knights, having a counter to his archers. GG. Alright guys, let's try to put in practice here what we already talked about the Franks. I'm playing here against Sobek, and well, it seems that we are fighting here a Frank war. Since we are fighting a Frank war, guys, I believe that monks will play
Prêt. Maraud.
a big factor here to decide whether each side is going to win when we start battling with knights. So I plan here to use a lot of monks in my composition, and I want to go heavy for the knights. Of course, I can still be surprised by some strategy with crossbows, with pikemen and things like this. That can be hard for me.
Okay, fait.
There we
Maraud.
go, 6 views. Going to put now the other guys that I on the wood. Lumber camp. Good. 3 on the wood. Going for the boar, guys. Bringing the boar back, still scouting here. Getting more information about the map. But I already have all of my resources, which gives me some freedom here.
Okay. Bastisseur.
Alright.
Bastisseur. 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 Maraud.
I'm gonna find Sobek, guys. I could be luring as well, but I just want to use the basic build.
Okay, fait.
Depending on the map, I can even add something like archers to my composition. But in a Frank war, the most common here is to rely on pikemen, monks, knights.
Prêt.
So
Okay, fait.
it's very hard to deviate from that, honestly.
Left. Maraud. Okay.
Since she was around, I'm going for the boar.
Oui. Maraud. Okay, fait.
He's also not going for the deers.
Firax.
I can see his gold here, guys.
Prêt. Fait.
I'm very close to his TC. He's from mine as well.
Prêt. Lupet. Oui. Chasseur. Chasseur. Okay.
I could even try something different, like starting with archers here, to surprise him. This kind of strategy can work, guys. Has potential to work. Another gold here in the front.
Prêt.
His map seems easy to wall because of the back gold. Mine doesn't look like it's that easy to wall, because, of course, of the forward gold.
Oui. Chasseur. 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 Maraud.
Yeah, he's already walling, you see? Very easy to protect, that's not great.
Fait.
Well, he's still open there.
Okay.
Already going up, guys, adding more views now to a second lumber camp. There's his mill, he might drop a barracks here. There's the barracks. This barracks has been dropped very early on. This could even indicate that he's trying to go for men at arms. There we go, men at arms. That's what he's gonna do. How do we fight men at arms? First of all, a house. Second, a barracks. Getting my resources safe is another way of fighting, so now that I know that those racks are safe, I can start walling back here in the wood. Woods are safe. Let me make this wood safe as well.
Prêt. Bastisseur. Bastisseur, 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 bûcheron.
Que fait? Bûcheron. Cueillet. Bastisseur.
Make the meal safer as well.
Prêt. Bastisseur. Bastisseur. Marot. Cueillet. Que fait? Cueillet. Bastisseur. Que fait? Marot. Prêt. Bastisseur. Prêt. Bastisseur.
Making a stable. Upgrading the wood.
Cueillet. Que fait? Bastisseur.
Ohé, maraud.
Ohé. Que fait? Bastisseur. 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 Marot. Cueillet. Marot.
Kéfé, maraud.
Prêt. Marot. Cueillet. Bastisseur.
I'll try to counterattack, guys.
Kay, bastisseur.
Making farms.
Marot. Prêt. Bastisseur. Ohé.
Making a good amount of farms. Going for the counterattack.
Ohé, maraud. Maraud, bastisseur. Maraud,
Another house.
Cueillet. Marot. Ohé. Bûcheron. Prêt. Artisan. Marot. Que fait? Marot. Prêt. Bastisseur.
I have scouts coming forward here. I can think about trying to kill him.
Kay, bastisseur.
Que fait? Artisan. Marot.
There we go, views. Getting one view. Might be able to get a few more. Ah, really? Well, this wall is just letting his views idle, so I'm okay with that.
Cueillet. Artisan. Marot.
Making more scouts. His views are idle,
Que fait?
which is great for me.
Prêt, bastisseur.
Cueillet.
I'm gonna go back and solve this problem now.
Ohé. Artisan. Marot. Prêt. Bastisseur.
Kéfé, bastisseur.
Ohé. Bastisseur.
Prêt, vilain.
Getting more farms. I'm getting more spearmen, guys, because I can use this spearmen to help me harassing his units as well. His own spearmen. Ah, fuck, he got me. Motherfucker.
Que fait? Bastisseur.
That was bad.
Kay, bastisseur.
Going forward. Starting to collect gold.
Ohé, bastisseur.
Cueillet. Bastisseur. Bûcheron. Ohé. Bastisseur.
I have a lot of scouts, I have some spearmen.
Kéfé, néo.
Prêt. Bastisseur. Cueillet.
I'm about to click up. Let me send the spearman. Let me get the scout.
Que fait? Oil.
I was able to defend, guys, so I'm truly happy with the outcome of the fight.
Bastisseur.
Que fait?
There he is, trying scouts as well. Ah, no.
Assaut. Prêt. À la bataille. Certes. Que fait? Certes. Prêt. Assaut. Bonjour. Que fait? À la bataille. Certes.
Since we went directly to the scouts, we are having some advantage here. Getting more views. He's being forced to make more walls.
Oh yes.
I'm being able to kill more views.
Ohé, bastisseur. Bastisseur, bastisseur. Minéo.
Prêt.
Reinforcing my defenses, of course.
Minéo.
Kéfé,
Que fait?
Making more farms.
Bastisseur.
prêt. Oil.
Making the more buildings.
Certes.
I'll try to block his gold now.
Kay,
And everything seems to be going fine for me, guys.
Cueillet.
bûcheron.
Uh-oh.
Cueillet. À la bataille. Que fait? Bonjour. Prêt.
He seems to be going for a lot of
Assaut. Cueilleur, Livet, Livet, Oyel.
Uh-oh, he got me now.
Cueilleur, Azon, à la bataille. Prêt.
Fuck. I just can't outrun him, I'm stuck. Now my army will get stuck, guys, this is bad.
Pastisso.
But of course I can just rely
Pastisso, Mineo.
on going up to castle and play now with knights.
Belbe. Servirax. Pastisso.
I'm gonna already drop a second stable here.
Pré, Mineo.
I'm gonna make a few spearmen, like one.
Prêt.
A new lumberjack might be needed. Upgrading the gold, upgrading now the scale barding armor,
Ohé.
which will be the armor for the knight. I have a lot of use on a lot of use here. This small resource defense is gonna work. I know that he doesn't have archers, guys. That's why I'm relying only on these walls. So even the forward gold
Mineo.
is not a big deal, thanks to that.
Mineo.
I'm going to upgrade also the forging, which will increase the attack of my knights. Might be good, especially to kill early spearmen.
Que fait? Bûcheron.
Distributing the villagers here of the wood on the resources. You can see that those 10 villagers, guys, are pretty much useful.
Prêt.
Are pretty much enough to do most of what I need.
Certes, Oyel, certes. Prêt. Livet.
Uh-oh.
Que fait? Certes. Prêt. Oyel.
Oé. Livet. Pastisso. Pastisso. Pastisso.
Prêt. Pastisso. Pastisso. Mineo.
Oh, I trapped his spearman. Make more knights.
Que fait? Azon. Livet.
Cueilleur. Pastisso.
Cueilleur.
Making another TC.
Kay.
I'm thinking about the monastery already.
Pastisso.
There it goes.
Cueilleur. Oyel.
I'll try to attack, guys. His scouts are here. I'll try to send some knights here. Oh, there they are. Ah, motherfucker.
Cueilleur. Certes.
Prêt. Pastisso.
A TC here on the stone might be needed.
Ohé.
C'est
Pastisso.
fait. Pastisso.
He defended. No problem, I can attack his barracks.
Oyel.
Prêt. Pastisso.
Prêt. Oyel.
Oé. Pastisso.
Ohé. Pastisso.
Prêt.
Converted here a spearman.
Que veuille. Oyel.
Trying to attack the knights.
Que fait? Pastisso. Cueilleur. Pastisso. Bûcheron. Que fait? Pastisso. Pastisso. Ohé. Bûcheron. Prêt. Bûcheron.
Kay.
Cueilleur.
C'est fait.
Bûcheron. Que fait? Pastisso. Bûcheron.
Cueilleur. Certes.
I try to force myself up on here in the front, booming meanwhile.
Oé. Verax. Certes.
Oé. Pastisso.
Cueilleur.
He has knights as well. I'm trying to trade here, kill 2 knights. Gonna run.
Cueillet.
Ohé. Pastisso. Mineo. Prêt. Pastisso. Pastisso.
Start collecting gold here. More guys to the wood, more farms. Making a lot of knights.
Que fait? Oyel.
I don't like that he is just going around
Veuille.
with his knights here. It makes me uncomfortable, you know. Anyway, making a new meal.
Prêt. Pastisor. Kay. Pastisor. Pastisor.
More of those guys. Good. Getting rid of him.
Certes. Prêt. Vera. Oye.
Prêt. Pastisor. Pastisor. Que fait. Kay. Que fait. Pastisor. Oe.
Advancing forward now.
Pastisor.
Oye.
I want to keep this forward position, guys. It's very important for me.
Kay. Pastisor.
Upgrading now the
Prêt. Pastisor.
armor.
Que
Not finding any relic here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Prêt.
What the fuck? There he comes. Nah, that's not a good fight for me because
Que veuille. Oye.
I'm still upgrading the armor. Oh, come on. Oh my god, the army's just gotten stuck here. I'm losing a fight because my army doesn't want to fight, man. Oh no, 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 definitive edition. That's why I fucking rage on the game. Everything was just going perfect here, perfect. There was like zero mistakes for me. Everything was going exactly as I wanted this to go. And then suddenly, a unit just don't answer to my command here. And I lose most of my army, lose the hill, giving my opponent map control. That's the kind of thing that pisses me off.
Que fait.
There he is, you see?
Prêt. Pastisor.
I'm just trying to defend here, but I can't properly.
Oe.
Oye. Que veuille. Oye. Prêt. Vera.
Holy crap, huh?
Kay. Pastisor.
Where's my monk? I don't know.
Oe. Artisan.
Prêt. Je libère.
There it is.
Oye. Vera. Que veuille. Oye.
Oh my god, look at this, man. Everything was going fine until that fight, huh? Until that fight.
Oye. Que ye. Live.
Que fait.
I'm gonna make a few more monasteries here.
Prêt. Libet. Que fait. Oe.
I will need that, unfortunately.
Pastisor.
Seigneur.
Que veuille.
Oh fuck, look at this, huh?
Kay.
I'm losing views on the other side.
Oe.
That's just terrible.
Oye. Certes.
Que fait Yann? Bonne joie.
Prêt. Vera.
He's coming here probably to make a forward castle.
Que veuille. Que ye.
I hope my army doesn't bug now, once again.
Oye. Live.
Kay. Mineo.
Oye. Vera. Keye. Ser. Prêt. Oye. Ser.
Knights and knights and knights and the GG. The thing here is, guys, my eco was much better than his. I feel like he just went for like 1 TC and 4 stables and all-win strategy. I almost lost because my army got bugged here on the hill when I told them to patrol and attack. I don't know why, but later I just added more monks because they could heal and convert. I had like a lot of monks getting conversions here and getting those knights for myself. And he was trying to kill me by placing this castle, but I would deny here with the tower and with some knights. I had town centers in all of my goats here. The second, the third one, the first one was walled. And that was pretty much my game plan. Full knights here, usually with Franks. Fights ended up in who makes more knights, and monks are great to support that. GG. Statistically, let's take a look. Military, 5 conversions. The KD was very close, as you can see. But the economy, it wasn't where the difference was made, because I was able to just follow the simple build of the scouts. And that gave me a castle age before 20 minutes. Despite all the defense investments into the late Dark Age or the Feudal. Despite the Spearman, despite everything, I still had like a 2-minute advantage. And I used this time to place more TCs. Boom. And I had like twice of his eco. But do not feel, guys, like this was an easy game, because if I lost that fight, I would just die to his knights, you know? Because he could just start raiding me non-stop, and soon this 100 villager that I had here would become closer to his 56, and he could even win. So fighting against 1 TC strategy is very dangerous. GG.